चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे। ॐ आनन्दमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे। ॐ आनन्दमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे। ॐ आनन्दमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे।
Book 2, The Book of the Traveler of the Worlds. Canto 10, The Kingdoms and Godheads of the Little Mind. This too must now be overpassed and left, as all must be until the highest is gained, in whom the world and self grow true and one. Till that is reached, our journey cannot cease. Always a nameless goal beckons beyond. Always ascends the zigzag of the gods, and upward points the spirit's climbing fire. This breath of 100-hued felicity, and its pure heightened figure of time's joy, tossed upon waves of flawless happiness, hammered into single beats of ecstasy. This fraction of the spirit's integer, caught into a passionate greatness of extremes, this limited being lifted to zenith bliss, happy to enjoy one touch of things supreme, packed into its sealed small infinity, its endless time-made world outfacing time, a little output of God's vast delight. The moments stretched towards the eternal now, the hours discovered immortality, but satisfied with the sublime contents. On peaks they seized whose tops halfway to heaven pointed to an apex they could never mount, to a grandeur in whose air they could not live, inviting to their high and exquisite sphere, to their secure and fine extremities, this creature who hugs his limits to feel safe. These heights declined a greater adventure's call, a glory and sweetness of satisfied desire, tied up the spirit to golden pores of bliss. It could not house the wideness of a soul, which needed all infinity for its home.
A memory soft as grass and faint as sleep, the beauty and call receding sank behind, like a sweet song heard fading far away upon the long high road to timelessness. Above was an ardent white tranquillity. A musing spirit looked out on the worlds, and like a brilliant clambering of skies, passing through clarity to an unseen light. Large loosened realms of mind from stillness shone. But first he met a silver grey expanse, where day and night had wedded and were one. It was a tract of dim and shifting rays, parting life's sentient flow from thought's self-poise. A collation of uncertainties, there exercised uneasy government on a ground reserved for doubt and reasoned guess. A rendezvous of knowledge with ignorance, at its low extremity, held difficult sway. A mind that hardly saw and slowly found its nature to to our earthly nature close, and kin to our precarious mortal thought, that looks from soil to sky and sky to soil, but knows not the below nor the beyond. It only sensed itself and outward things. This was the first means of our slow ascent from the half conscious of the animal soul living in a crowded press of shape events. In a realm it cannot understand nor change. Only it sees and acts in a given scene, and feels and joys and sorrows for a while. The ideas that drive the obscure embodied spirit along the roads of suffering and desire, in a world that struggles to discover truth, found here their power to be and nature force.
Here are devised the forms of an ignorant life that sees the empiric fact as settled law, labors for the hour and not for eternity, and trades its gains to meet the moment's call. The slow process of a material mind which serves the body it should rule and use, and needs to lean upon an erring sense, was born in that luminous obscurity, advancing tardily from a limping start, crutching hypothesis on argument, throning its theories as certitudes. It reasons from the half-known to the unknown, ever constructing its frail house of thought, ever undoing the web that it has spun. A twilight sage whose shadow seems to himself, moving from minute to brief minute, lives. A king dependent on his satellites signs the decrees of ignorant ministers, a judge in half possession of his proofs, a voice claimant of uncertainty's postulates, an architect of knowledge, not its source. This powerful bond slave of his instruments thinks his low station nature's highest top, oblivious of his share in all things made, and haughtily humble in his own conceit, believes himself a spawn of matter's mud, and takes his own creations for his cause. To eternal light and knowledge meant to rise, up from man's bare beginning is our climb. Out of earth's heavy smallness we must break. We must search our nature with spiritual fire. An insect crawl preludes our glorious flight. Our human state cradles the future God, our mortal frailty and immortal force.
At the glow-worm top of these pale glimmer realms, where dawn sheen gambolled with the native dusk, and helped the day to grow and night to fail, escaping over a wide and shimmering bridge, he came into a realm of early light, and the regency of a half-risen sun. Out of its rays our mind's full orb was born, appointed by the spirit of the worlds to mediate with the unknowing depths, a prototypal deft intelligence, half poised on equal wings of thought and doubt, toiled ceaselessly twixt being's hidden ends.
A secrecy breathed in life's moving act, a covered nurse of nature's miracles. It shaped life's wonders out of matter's mud. It cut the pattern of the shapes of things. It pitched mind's tent in the vague, ignorant vast. A master magician of measure and device has made an eternity from recurring forms, and to the wandering spectator thought assigned a seat on the inconscient stage.
On earth, by the will of this arc intelligence, a bodiless energy put on matter's robe. Proton and photon served the imager I to change things subtle into a physical world, and the invisible appeared as shape, and the impalpable was felt as mass. Magic of percept joined with concept's art, and lent to each object an interpreting name. Idea was disguised in a body's artistry, and by a strange atomic last mystic. A frame was made in which the sense could put its symbol picture of the universe. Even a greater miracle was done. The mediating light linked body's power, the sleep and dreaming of the tree and plant, the animal's vibrant sense, the thought in man, to the effulgence of a ray above. Its skill endorsing matter's right to think. Cut sentient passages for the mind of flesh, and found a means for Nescience to know.
Offering its little squares and cubes of word as figured substitutes for reality, a mummified mnemonic alphabet, it helped the unseeing force to read her works. A buried consciousness arose in her, and now she dreams herself human and awake. But all was still a mobile ignorance. Still knowledge could not come and firmly grasp this huge invention seen as a universe.
A specialist of logic's hard machine imposed its rigid artifice on the soul. An aid of the inventor intellect, it cut truth into manageable bits that each might have his ration of thought food. Then new built truth's slain body by its art, a robo exact and serviceable and false, displays the spirit's finer view of things. A polished engine did the work of a god. None the true body found, its soul seemed dead. None had the inner look which sees truth's whole. All glorified the glittering substitute.
Then from the secret heights a wave swept down. A brilliant chaos of rebel light arose. It looked above and saw the dazzling peaks. It looked within and woke the sleeping god. Imaginations called her shining squads that venture into undiscovered scenes where all the marvels lurk none yet as known. Lifting her beautiful and miraculous head, she conspired with inspiration's sister brood to fill thought skies with glimmering nebulae. A bright error fringed the mystery, altars freeze. Darkness grew, nursed to wisdom's occult sun. Myth suckled knowledge with her lustrous milk. The infant passed from dim to radiant breasts.
Thus worked the power upon the growing world, its subtle cart will be full of the blaze. Cherish the soul's childhood and on fictions fed, far richer in their sweet and nectarous sap, nourishing its immature divinity than the staple or dry straw of reason's tilth. It heaped fodder of innumerable facts, plebeian fare on which today we thrive.
Thus streamed down from the realm of early light, ethereal thinkings into matter's world. Its gold-horned horse dropped into earth's cave head. Its morning rays illume our twilight eyes. Its young formations move the mind of earth to labor and to dream and new create, to feel beauty's touch and know the world and self, the golden child began to think and see.
In those bright realms, our mind's first forward steps, ignorant of all but eager to know all. Its curious, slow enquiry there begins. Ever its searching grasps at shapes around. Ever it hopes to find out greater things, ardent and golden gleamed with sunrise fires. Alert it lives upon invention's verge, yet all it does is on an infant scale, as if the cosmos were a nursery game. Mind, life, the playthings of a Titan's babe.
As one it works who builds a mimic fort, miraculously stable for a while, made of the sands upon a bank of time, mid an occult eternity's shoreless sea. A small, keen instrument the great Pisons chose, an arduous pastime passionately pursues. To teach the ignorance is her difficult charge. Her thought starts from an original nascent void, and what she teaches she herself must learn, arousing knowledge from its sleepy lair. For knowledge comes not to us as a guest, called into our chamber from the outer world, a friend, an inmate of our secret self. It hid behind our minds and fell asleep, and slowly wakes beneath the blows of life. The mighty demon lies unshaped within. To evoke, to give it form, is nature's task.
All was a chaos of the true and false. Mind sought amid deep mists of nescience. It looked within itself but saw not God, a material interim diplomacy. Denied the truth that transient truths might live, and hid the deity in creed and guess, that the world ignorance might grow slowly wise. This was the imbroglio made by a sovereign mind. Looking from a gleam ridge into the night, in her first tamperings with inconscience, its alien dusk baffles her luminous eyes. Her rapid hands must learn a cautious zeal. Only a slow advance the earth can bear.
Yet was her strength unlike the unseeing yet compelled to handle makeshift instruments invented by the life force and the flesh, yet all perceives through doubtful images. All she conceives in hazardous jets of sight, small lights kindled by touches of groping thought, incapable of the soul's direct in look. She sees by spams and soldier knowledge scrap, makes truth the slave girl of her indigence, expelling nature's mystic unity, cuts into quantum and masks the moving all. She tags for measuring rod her ignorance.
In her own domain, a pontiff and a seer, that greater power with her half-risen son, wrought within limits but possessed her field. She knew by a privilege of thinking force, and climbed an infant sovereignty of sight. In her eyes, however, darkly fringed was lit the archangel's gaze, who knows inspired his acts, and shapes a world in its far-seeing flame.
In her own realm she stumbles not, nor fails, but moves in boundaries of subtle power, across which mind can step towards the sun, a candidate for a higher suzerainty, a passage she cut through from night to light, and searched for an ungrasped omniscience. A dwarf three-bodied trinity was a serf, first smallest of the three, but strong of limb, a lowbrow with a square and heavy jowl, a pygmy thought needing to live in bounds, forever stooped to hammer fact and form, absorbed and cabined in external sight. It takes its stand on nature's solid base, a technician admirable, a thinker crude, a riveter of life to habits' grooves, obedient to gross matter's tyranny, a prisoner of the molds in which it works. It binds itself by what itself creates, a slave of a fixed mass of absolute rules. It sees as law the habits of the world. It sees as truth the habits of the mind. In its realm of concrete images and events, turning in a worn circle of ideas, and ever repeating old familiar acts, it lives content with the common and the known.
It loves the old ground that was its dwelling place, abhorring change as an audacious sin, distrustful of each new discovery. Only it advances step by careful step, and fears as if a deadly abyss the unknown, a prudent treasurer of its ignorance. It shrinks from adventure, blinks at glorious hope, preferring a safe foothold upon things to the dangerous joy of wideness and of height. The world's slow impressions on its laboring mind, tardy imprints almost indelible, increase their value by their poverty. The old, sure memories are its capital stock. Only what sense can grasp seems absolute. External fact it figures as sole truth. Wisdom identifies with the earthward look, and things long known and actions always done are to its clinging hold a balustrade of safety on the perilous stair of time. Heaven's trust to it are the established ancient ways, immutable laws man has no right to change, a sacred legacy from the great dead past, or the one road that God has made for life, a firm shape of nature never to be changed, part of the huge routine of the universe.
A smile from the preserver of the worlds, sent down of old this guardian mind to earth, that all might stand in their fixed changeless type, and from their secular posture never move. One sees it circling faithful to its task, tireless in an assigned tradition's round. It decayed and crumbling offices of time, it keeps close guard in front of custom's wall, or in an ancient night's dim environs, it dozes on the little courtyard's stones and barks at every unfamiliar light, as at a foe who would break up its home, a watchdog of the spirit's sense-railed house, against intruders from the invisible, nourished on scraps of life and matter's bones, in its kennel of objective certitude. And yet behind it stands a cosmic might, a measured greatness keeps its vaster plan, a fathomless sameness rhythms the tread of life. The stars' changeless orbits furrow inert space, a million species follow one mute law. A huge inertness is the world's defense. Even in change is treasured changelessness. Into inertia, revolution sinks. In a new dress, the old resumes its role. The energy acts. The stable is its seal. On Shiva's breast is strayed the enormous dance. A fiery spirit came next of the three, a hunchback rider of the red wild ass. A rash intelligence leaped down line-manned from the great mystic flame that rings the worlds, and with its dire edge eats at being's heart. thence sprang the burning vision of desire.
1,000 shapes it wore, took numberless names. A need of multitude and uncertainty pricks it forever to pursue the one on countless roads across the vast of time. Through circuits of unending difference, it burns all breasts with an ambiguous fire.
A radiance gleaming on a murky stream, it flamed towards heaven, then sank, engulfed towards hell. It climbed to drag down truth into the mire, and used for muddy ends its brilliant force. A huge chameleon, gold and blue and red, turning to black and grey and lurid brown. Hungry, it stared from a mottled bough of life. To snap up insect joys, its favourite food, the dingy sustenance of a sumptuous frame, nursing the splendid passion of its hues.
A snake of flame with a dull cloud for tail, followed by a dream brood of glittering thoughts, a lifted head with many tinged flickering crests. It licked at knowledge with a smoky tongue, a whirlpool sucking in an empty air. It based on vacancy stupendous claims, in nothingness born to nothingness return. Yet all the time, unwittingly, it drove towards the hidden something that is all, ardent to find, incapable to retain. A brilliant instability was its mark, to err its inborn trend, its native cue. At once to an unreflecting credence prone, it thought all true that flattered its own hopes. It cherished golden nothings born of wish. It snatched at the unreal for provender. In darkness it discovered luminous shapes, peering into a shadow-hung half-light. It saw hued images scrawled on fancy's cave, or it swept in circles through conjecture's night and caught in imagination's camera bright scenes of promise held by transient flares, fixed in life's air the feet of hurrying dreams, kept prints of pausing forms and hooded powers, and flash images of half-seen verities, an eager spring to seize and to possess, unguided by reason or the seeing soul, was its first natural motion, and its last. It squandered life's force to achieve the impossible. It scorned the straight road and ran on wandering curves, and left what it had won for untried things. It saw unrealized aims as instant fate, and chose the precipice for its leap to heaven. Adventure its system in the gamble of life. It took fortuitous gains as safe results. Error discouraged not its confident view, ignorant of the deep law of being's ways, and failure could not slow its fiery clutch. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Arvindaya. Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame.
Om